श्री गणेशाय नमः। शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। नारायणं पद्मभुवं वसिष्ठं शक्तिं च ततपुत्रपराशरं च व्यासं शुकं गौडपदं महान्तं गोविन्दयोगीन्द्रम् अतस्य शिष्यं श्रीशङ्कराचार्यम् अतस्य पद्मपादं च हस्तामलकं च शिष्यं तं तोटकं वार्तिककारम् अन्यान् अस्मद्गुरून् सन्ततम् आनतोऽस्मि। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सवीर्यं करवावहे तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहे। ओम शांति शांति शांति। श्रीमद्भगवद्गीता गीता ज्ञान श्लोकः। ओम पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन कृतितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी। नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे पुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमया प्रदीपः। प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवैत्रेकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्तः दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरु। भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयन्द्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवति कुपेन वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरणनदी कैवर्तका केशवः। पाराशर्यवचा सरोजम् अमलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटं नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितम्। लोके सज्जन षट्पदैरहरः पीपीयमानं मुदा भूयात् भारत पंकजं कलिमल प्रध्वंसिना श्रेयसे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुलङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुसुरासुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः। देवाय तस्मै नमः। ओम श्री परब्रह्मणे नमः। श्रीमद्भगवद्गीता अथ सप्तदशोऽध्यायः। आहारस्त्वपि सर्वस्य त्रिविधो भवति प्रियः यज्ञस्तपस्तथा दानं तेषां भेदमिमं शृणु आयुसत्त्वबलारोग्यः सुखप्रीतिविवर्धनाः रस्यातिक्तातिरारित्याः आहारा सात्विकप्रियाः कट्वं लवणत्युष्णतीक्ष्णः वृक्षविदाहिनः आहारा राजसस्येष्टा दुःखशोकामयप्रदाः यातयामं गतरसं पूतिपर्युषितं च यत् उच्छिष्टमपि चामेद्यं भोजनं तामसप्रियम् अपलाकाङ्क्षी वीर्यज्ञो विधिदृष्टो य इच्छते यष्टव्यमेवेति मनः समाधाय स सात्विकः अभिसन्धाय तु फलं दम्भार्थमपि चैव यत् युज्यते भरतश्रेष्ठ तं यज्ञं विद्विराजसम् विधिहीनमसृष्टानं मन्त्रहीनं दक्षिणं श्रद्धाविरहितं यज्ञं तामसं परिचक्षते देवद्विजगुरुप्राज्ञ पूजनं शौचमार्जवम् ब्रह्मचर्यमहिंसा च शारीरं तपमुच्यते अनुद्वेगकरं वाक्यं सत्यं प्रियहितं च यत् स्वाध्यायाभ्यसनं चैव वाङ्मयं तपमुच्यते मनः प्रसादा सौम्यत्वं मौनमात्मविनिग्रहः भावसंस्कृतिरित्येतत् तपो मानसमुच्यते श्रद्धया परया तप्तं तपस्तत्त्रिविधं नरैः अपलाकाङ्क्षिभिः युक्तैः सात्विकं परिचक्षते सत्कारमानपूजार्थं तपोदम्भेन चैव यत् क्रियते तदिह प्रोक्तं राजसं चलमध्रुवम् मूढग्राहेणात्मनो यत् पीडया क्रियते तपः परस्योत्साधनार्थं वा तत्तामसमुदाहतम्.
Okay, so in the last class, we were looking at the various activities that can be classified as Sattvika, Rajasika, or Tamasika. Now, just to give an example, see, there is a huge, let us say, a sugar mountain. Now, an ant goes and picks up some sugar from the sugar mountain. So the ant is contracting sugar or getting sugar from the sugar mountain. Now we can use that analogy to say the Prakriti is three mountains of Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Now that is the source. Now we have a choice to go to the Sattva mountain or to go to the Rajas mountain or the Tamas mountain. And depending on how we interact with this Prakriti, we are picking Sattva, Rajas, or Tamas. What we have brought to this world is the sum of Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. We can change in this life by enhancing Sattva and reducing Rajas and Tamas. That is the preferred model for attaining to the Paramatma. Now, on the other hand, if we let the Sattva suffer and increase our Rajas and Tamas, we'll go back to transmigration. That is the idea that Krishna is proposing here. So, started with food. Aharasya sarvasya trivido bhavati priyaha. So, food we consume, there are three kinds of food: sattvic food, rajasic food, and tamasic food. So we have the choice which to choose. Similarly, yajna and tapas, they, there are three varieties of yajnas and three varieties of tapas. We can choose which one we want to enhance, and then accordingly we conduct the yajnas and the tapas in that way. And our preferred goal is to increase the sattva, so we should be going to the sattva well all the time. So he continues with this thought and reviews so he comes to the dana. There are three kinds of dana, he says, and that he describes in the three verses. Datavyamiti yad danam Dhiyatenupakarini deshe kale cha patre cha taddanam satvikam smrutam. Yat danam datavyamiti, with charity is given as to be given, mandatory. A certain, everybody is expected to do certain charity, to be given as mandatory. Diyate anupakarine. Now that Krishna says you can do in three ways, but if you do it as anupakarine, given without seeking a return help, and additional conditions he suggests, deshe kalecha patrecha. You have to give the dana, but you have to see whom to give, when to give, and where to give. Desha, kala, and patra, that's what it means. You have to give at a certain place, you have to give at a certain time, and you have to give to a certain person. If that script is followed, tat danam satvikam smrutam, that charity is recognized as sattvika charity. Therefore, the charity is deemed as a duty and offered to the right person at the right place and right time without expectation of reward is said to be a sattvika charity. Now, explaining a little further onto this. So he has to resolve in his mind that a charity has to be made. Everybody has a role to play in helping the society, and that helping the society is recognized here as charity. So charity is to be given to a person who has no ability to return the favor. The preferred person, we said, deshe kalecha patrecha, the right person. And the right person, Krishna is suggesting, who has no ability to return the favor. That's one kind. Or not, if you give a person not expecting anything back from him, that's another way of looking at it. So if either of these conditions are met, the receiver may be able to return the favor sometimes, but we should not expect that. So if that is satisfied, that becomes a sattvika charity. Well, he must have this firm conviction that this is a duty, I have to do this charity. Now, I should not give a charity based on what in the future this will help me or my children. If I have an expectation like that, I will give some charity. Maybe this will create an environment where somebody else will give me something back inside me or my children or whatever it is. Or if I give a dana, and I will go to heaven. Even that expectation should not be there. Seeking, he should not be seeking if afterlife benefits. I want to go to Śhraddhā, or I want to get a better life next life. That should not be the motive. So all such charity is given as a duty, that the expectation of no return, that is a sattvika charity. Now, this charity, as I said, is something we have to pay back to society. Being part of the society, we have to pay back to society, and we have that confirmed conviction that we have to give back to society. That is a sattvika charity, as one aspect of this sattvika charity. And duty is embedded in dharma. This charity as a duty is embedded in the dharma. Dharma says you have to do the charity. So sattvika charity is a dharmic activity in that sense. Now, he says desha and kala. So given is sanctified places like temples and pilgrimage centers. You go to pilgrimage, there is a there is more power in those centers, like a temple and pilgrimage. So many good people come, and their coming itself enhances the power of that place, and so that becomes a place where the effect of giving is good. And auspicious times like festivals or Sankranti time, that's another time, Uttarayana Punyakala, that is considered an auspicious time to give. Therefore, these are the, if I want to give, I want to give to a person who is deserving it, and give it at these times. If a guest comes to your home, take that guest to the puja room, and the puja room, you give the dana in the puja room. So such a person, the most deserving person according to the Shastras, is one who has studied the Vedas, because he is in the business, or he is in the practice of enhancing the Vedic importance in the life of people, and giving to such a person, he is a deserving person. So again, as I said, he should have no ability to return the favor, and to the right person, depend, it's all based on our current knowledge at that time. This is the right person or not, it depends on our knowledge of that person. So give the charity to a righteous person or a righteous cause. That is Sattvika charity. Now, I have an opportunity to give that also comes from the Bhagavan himself. That is a grace of the Paramatma. So, people shirk from giving, like a charity. That means they don't have the grace of the Bhagavan to give. It's only the Bhagavan's grace that gives me the power, the strength to give, and therefore I should pray Bhagavan, hey Bhagavan, give me the opportunity to give. And most times it should be understood that giving is, like the receiver, more than anything, the receiver is doing a service, is doing a favor to the giver. It's not the other way, and not the giver giving a favor to the receiver. That should not be the way the Sattvika charity should be understood. The receiver is doing a favor to the giver by receiving the dana. That is a most important aspect of Sattvika charity. Datavyam iti yat danam.
Datavyam iti yat danam. Datavyam iti yat danam.
Diyate anupakarine.
Diyate anupakarine. Diyate anupakarine.
Deshe kale cha patre cha.
Deshe kale cha patre cha. Deshe kale cha patre cha.
Tat danam satvikam smritam.
Taddanam satvikam smritam. Taddanam satvikam smritam.
Datavyamiti yat danam. Diyate nupakarine. Deshe kale cha patre cha. Taddanam satvikam smritam.
Datavyamiti yaddanam. Diyate nupakarine. Deshe kale cha patre cha. Taddanam satvikam smritam. Datavyamiti yaddanam. Diyate nupakarine. Deshe kale cha patre cha. Taddanam satvikam smritam.
18 to 20. Satkara.
Satkaramana pujartham. Tapodambena chaiva yat. Kriyate tadiha proktam. Rajasam janamadhruvam. Mūಢgrahenātmanot yat pīdaya kriyate tapaha. परस्योत्सादनार्थं वा तामसमुदाहृतम् दातव्यमिति यद्दानम् दीयतेऽनुपकारिणे देशे काले च पात्रे च तद्दानं सात्विकं स्मृतम्
यत्तु प्रत्युपकारार्थं फलमुद्दिश्य वा पुनः दीयते च परिक्लिष्टं तद्दानं राजसंस्मृतम् तु यत् but yat pariklishtam, that troubling charity, the charity given with very difficulty, like, oh, I'm going to part with this resource. That thought is what is called as given with troubling mind. So, prati upakarartham, and seeking return favor, va phalamuddishya punaha diyate, are given again with a desire motive. So, any fruit given seeking a return favor or a desire motive of any kind, tad danam rajasam smrutam. That charity is recognized as a rajasic charity. So, given in expectation of a return favor or anticipating some benefit from somebody else, not necessarily to the person you give. Somebody else might one day be able to give me back this, that mental anguish, mental thought, and that is given with mental anguish or grudgingly given. All right, take it, like that. So that attitude of mental anguish is called rajasic charity. So what is rajasic charity? Basically it's the same thing is said here again, a little more explained, that's all. So this rajasic charity is characterized by made with the expectation of a return favor. He may be a benefit to me in the future. I give something to somebody and say he may be of benefit to me in the future, or he may be obligated to give me back. I will receive at that time, or any charity without the thoughts of the Bhagavan. When you say any charity without the thoughts of the Bhagavan, then obviously I am thinking of the ego. I am giving this. I am a capable person to be able to give this to him. That ego sets in. That should not be the right way of giving. That if I put my ego forward in giving, then it becomes a rajasic charity. And so this is a transaction attitude, a rajasic charity. I give you today, you give me tomorrow. That charity is called a rajasic charity. So as I said, the charity will be of value at a future difficult time. There may be an invisible visit, as I said, after going to heaven or the next life, something like that. And given with a very great mental anguish, we call such a charity as rajasic. When I say mental anguish, there's when you say dana is to be given as a duty, then you part with that resource with a lot of difficulty in yourself, in myself. The pain by the compulsion to give is a mark of rajasic charity. Yattu prati upakarartham.
Yattu prati upakarartham. Yattu prati upakarartham.
Phalam uddishya va punaha.
Phalam uddishya va punaha. Phalam uddishya va punaha.
Diyate cha pariklishtam.
Diyate cha pariklishtam. Diyate cha pariklishtam.
Tat danam rajasam smrutam.
Taddanam rajasam smrutam. Taddanam rajasam smrutam.
Yattu pratyupakarartham phalamuddishya va punaha diyate cha pariklishtam taddanam rajasam smrutam.
Yattu pratyupakarartham फलमुद्दिश्य वा पुनः दीयते च परिक्लिष्टम् तद्दानं राजसंस्मृतम् यत्तु प्रत्युपकारार्थम् फलमुद्दिश्य वा पुनः दीयते च परिक्लिष्टम् तद्दानं राजसंस्मृतम्
19 to 21.
मूढग्राहेणात्मनो यत् पीडया क्रियते तपः परस्योत्सादनार्थं वा तत्तामसमुदाहृतम् दातव्यमिति यद्दानम् दीयतेऽनुपकारिणे देशे काले च पात्रे च तद्दानं सात्विकं स्मृतम् यत्तु प्रत्युपकारार्थं फलमुद्दिश्य वा पुनः दीयते च परिक्लिष्टम् तद्दानं राजसंस्मृतम्
Adeshakale yaddanam apatrebhyascha diyate asatkrtam avajñātam tamassamudahritam. When Satvika Dana was discussed, he said Padesha Kala Patra. See, give the Dana charity, keeping in mind Desha Kala and Patra, and a person who ignores that is being discussed here. Yat Danam, that charity, Adesha Kale Apata Apatre Descha Diyate, given at the wrong time and place to the undeserving person. Asatkritam avajñātam, without honor and recognition. See, anytime you give a dana, you say that you have done such a great work to the society or something, and give it in that spirit. That is lacking here. Without recognition, tat tamasam udartam. That charity is described as tamasic. The charity given to an undeserving person at the wrong place, charity lacking respect and are associated with insult, is said to be tamasic charity. So anytime you give, sometimes you give, as with contempt. I said earlier. So that applies to here also, showing no respect to the receiver. The receiver, as I said earlier, consider the receiver as giving you the opportunity to do something. And you are the benefactor of that charity. So that if we don't recognize that, it is asatkritam avajñātam. That is, it becomes the charity lacking respect and are associated with insult. So in given in non-holy places inhabited by unrighteous people. I'll give you an example for this, which may not be true all the time. Say, suppose a person gives a charity to somebody, gives some cash donation, and he goes and buys a gun and shoots somebody else. See, that is an unrighteous person. If the person given did not deserve that, and therefore, or he goes and buys some drugs and spoils his life. So there is an element of our responsibility in giving charity to somebody, that they don't misuse that for something, hurting somebody else or hurting themselves. That becomes that is where this apatra comes into existence. So charity is made in inauspicious times recognized as unhelpful for virtuous activities. There are when we do a puja or something, we look at the panchanga and we look at the right time for that. So charity is made at that time are auspicious, but charity is made any other time without any other consideration. That is a tamasic charity. And like I said, indiscriminate people are thieves. Giving them any charity is not properly utilized. The charity is meant for a purpose, and that purpose is to enhance the value to the society. The society must benefit from whatever is being done. and lacking that, that becomes a tamasic dana. Even if given to the right person at the right place and time, but given with an attitude of insult or contempt, is day. Those are all characteristics of a tamasic dana. Adesha kale yat danam.
Adesha kale yat danam. Adesha kale yat danam.
Apatrebhyah cha diyate.
Apatrebhyah cha diyate. Apatrebhyah cha diyate.
Asatkritam avajnatam.
Asatkritam avajnatam. Asatkritam avajnatam.
Tat tamasam udahritam.
Tat tamasam udahritam. Tat tamasam udahritam.
Adesha kale yat danam. Apatrebhyascha diyate. Asatkritam avajnatam. Tat tamasam udahritam.
Adesha kale yaddanam. Apatrebhyascha diyate. Asatkritam avajnatam. Tattamasam Adesha kale yaddanam. Apatrebhyascha diyate. Asatkritam avajnatam. Tattamasam
20 to 22.
Datavyamiti yaddanam. Hiyate nupakarine. Deshe kale cha patre cha. Taddanam satvikam smritam. Yattu pratyupakarartham. Alamuddishya va punaha. Diyate cha pariklishtam. Taddanam rajasamsmritam. Adesha kale yajnanam yaddanam. Apatrebhyascha diyate. Asatkritam avajnatam. Tattamasam udahritam.
So Krishna here at this point, he makes a segue to considering these Rajasic and Tamasic and Sattvic into a more global thinking. He will continue this classification in the 18th chapter again. Another 20 verses are there, another six activities which are characterized as Sattva, Rajas, or Tamas. He will continue in the 18th chapter. But at this point, he is focusing on the yajna, the tapas, and dana. These are the activities. He looks at it from a higher perspective. Om Tat Saditi Nirdesho Brahmanas Trividhas Smritaha Brahmanastena Vedascha Yajnascha Vihita Pura. So Om, Tat, and Sat. These are the fundamental as a basis support for the Yajna, Dana, and Tapas. That is how he is connecting this verse to the previous verse. Om Tat Sat iti. Om Tat means that, and Sat means existence, like this. Brahmanaha Trividaha Nirdeshaha Smrutaha are described as the three names of Brahma. Brahma is derived from the word Brihat. Brihat means very huge. Brahma being the being pervading everywhere and being so huge that Brihat word is the source for defining calling that as Brahma. And that Brahma is called by three more names: Om, Tat, and Sat. So by this Om, Tat, and Sat, Tena, by this, Pura Brahmanaha Vedaha cha Yajnaha cha Vihitaha. In the past, the Brahmanas, Vedas, and Yajnas came into existence by him. It is by this Brahma, through the names of the Om, Tat, and Sat, the Vedas and Yajnas and all came into existence. Om, Tat and Sat are declared as the three descriptors of Brahman. The Brahmanas, Yajnas and Vedas came of this Brahma in the past. Pura means in the beginning. There is not much to describe in this verse. So again, Om, Tat and Sat are the three descriptors of Brahma by the knowers of Brahma and Upanishads. Who has called the Brahma as Om, Tat and Sat? The knowers, those who know him only can say what the characteristics of this Brahma are, and they are the Upanishads, those who have contemplated on the knowing the Brahma. Once they know once they have contemplated on knowing the Brahma, in their contemplation, they come to see this Brahma as Om. They come to see this Brahma as Tat, and this Brahma as Sat. That is, Tat means that. Then different from the body that I am is, different from the universe that I am here, this universe. So what that is, Tat is a descriptor of something away from you. And that is how that is being brought here. Om Tat, and Sat means existence. It exists in past, present, and future. So Om Tat Sat are the three names of Brahma that those people who are contemplating on Brahma came to know. Om Ityekaksharam Brahma. That is in the 8th chapter 13th, the 8th chapter 13th verse in the Bhagavad Gita itself. That Om Ityekaksharam Brahma, that word is used. Om Tat Brahma, that is Taittiriya Upanishad. So like this, Om is Brahma, Tat is Brahma, Sat is Brahma. So Nirdesha means known by that particular name. So Brahma is known by Om, Tat and Sat. See, Brahma per se is void of name. After all, we want to communicate what this Brahma is, and therefore this Om Tat Sat have come into existence because he is beyond speech. I cannot describe to you how Brahma is, what is his nature by discussing with any person. Speech fails to describe Brahma, and the mind fails to grasp Brahma. And therefore, some pointers are given by the rishis, by the sages who have contemplated on this, and they have come to know that this Brahma can be described as Om, Tat, and Sat. So it's like this, an example. A child asks for a toy as that. The child doesn't know how to, ask the mother for that toy. It binds to the toy, I want that. That is what the universe is. That's what the Brahma is. Like that. Likewise, sages called Brahma as that, being unable to describe that in any specific way. And they said that because we are all familiar with this, we are not familiar with that. And therefore, to distinguish what is this, what we are familiar with, and now you called it as. So the Brahmanas have prescribed the Vedas and Yajnas by these names, Om, Tat, Saditi. That's why when we finish the class, complete the class every time, we chant the Om, Tat, Saditi. For example, in this Bhagavad Gita, each chapter, Om Tat Sati, Bhagavad Gita, Upanishadsu, like that. So that has become the standard to describe the Paramatma by these names. So Sat is existence, even if it can only be described as Tat, it is there, it existence. After all, when you say that, when the child points to that doll, that I want that, so that exists, that doll exists, and that is only shown as that. So that is that Sat is there, that existence is there, and therefore it has been able, the sages have been able to describe it as Tat. Tadeva Somya Idamagra Asi. This is Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So only Brahma existed in the beginning. So the law, I think it is Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. If I'm wrong, I will take a excuse for that. The Lord has described so to give divine value to yajna, dana, and tapas. Again, the connection to the previous sattva, sattvika, rajasic, and tamasic yajna, dana, and tapas that we discussed. So the Lord has described this Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat, to give divine value to the yajna, dana, and tapas that we do. Yajnas begin with Om, danas begin with Om, tapas begins with Om, like that. The Vedas and yajna came into existence starting with Om Tat Sat. Om iti Brahma means Om is Brahma, likewise Tat and Sat. Now, when we did the Rama Gita, I did give a little more explanation on the Om. Maybe at the end of this class, if there is some time left, I will discuss that. Om Tat Sat iti nirdeshaha.
Om Tat Sat iti nirdeshaha. Om Tat Sat iti nirdeshaha.
Brahmana trividaha smrutaha.
Brahmana trividaha smrutaha. Brahmana trividaha smrutaha.
Brahmana tena vedaha cha.
Brahmana tena vedaha cha. Brahmana tena vedaha cha.
Yajnaha cha vihitaha pura.
Yajnaha cha vihitaha pura. Yajnaha cha vihitaha cha pura.
Om tat saditi nirdesho. Brahmanastrividha smritaha. Brahmanastena vedascha. Yajnascha vihita pura.
Om tatsaditi nirdesho brahmanastrividha smrutaha brahmanastena vedascha yajnascha vihitah pura. Om tatsaditi nirdesho brahmanastrividha smrutaha brahmanastena vedascha yajnascha vihitah pura.
21 to 23.
Yattu pratyupakarartham phalamudishya va punaha diyate cha parikrishtam taddanam rajasamsrutam adesha kale yaddanam apatrebhyascha diyate asatकृतमवज्ञातं तत्तामसमुदाहृतम्. ॐ तत्सदिति निर्देशो ब्रह्मणस्त्रिविधः स्मृतः ब्राह्मणास्तेन वेदाश्च यज्ञाश्च विहिताः पुरा.
Now, in the next 3 verses, he describes a little more about the Om, Tat, and Sat. Tasmadomityudahritya yajnadana tapakriyaha pravartante vidhanoktaha satatam brahmavadinam. Tasmat vidhanoktaha. Therefore, the practitioners obligated in scriptural injunctions. Vidhana uktaha, that they follow a vidhi, and therefore they are called vidhanoktaha, the practitioners who are obliged to study scriptural injunctions. Brahmavadina, the followers of Vedas. Brahma here is Vedas, so Brahmavadina means by the followers of Vedas. Yajna, dana, tapaha, kriyaha, the acts like yajna, dana, and tapas. Tatatam Om iti udahritya pravartante. Always begin the act chanting Om. Om Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So we say, so that Om has become a standard name for Paramatma. So the knowers of Brahman began all Vedic rituals of yajna, charity, and austerity, always with the utterance of Om. That means we are bringing forth into our activities the importance of Paramatma, and that is described by Om. So they begin all prescribed karmas, yajnas, dana, and tapas by invoking the name of Brahma. Again, all Vedic activities, no exclusion. It is being described starting with Om. Now, Om is pronounced as an atonement when a lapse occurs in Yajna Karma or lapse in the chanting of Veda. What it means is you do there is a certain vidhi, there is a certain procedure. If there is a lapse in that procedure, then Om is said to atone for the lapse. Or if a person is chanting, there are people who are chanting the Vedic mantras, and if something goes wrong and they jump a mantra or something like that, then also they use the word Om to make an atonement for making the mistake of either doing or chanting the Veda mantra. Tasmat Om iti udahritya.
Tasmat Om iti udahritya. Tasmat Om iti udahritya.
Yajnadana tapaha kriyaha.
Yajnadana tapah kriyaha. Yajnadana tapah kriyaha.
Pravartante vidhanoktaha.
Pravartante vidhanoktaha. Pravartante vidhanoktaha.
Satatam brahmavadinam.
Satatam brahmavadinam. Satatam brahmavadinam.
Tasmadomityudahritya yajnadana tapakriyaha pravartante vidhanoktaha satatam brahmavadinam.
Tasmadomityudahritya yajnadana-tapakriyaha pravartante vidhanoktaha satatam brahmavadinam. Tasmadomityudahritya yajnadana-tapakriyaha pravartante vidhanoktaha satatam brahmavadinam.
22-24.
Adesha-kale yaddanam apatrebhyascha diyate asat-kritam-avajjatam tat-tamasamudahritam. Om tat-saditi nirdesho brahmanasti-vidhasmrutaha brahmanastena vedascha yajnascha vihitah pura tasmadomityudahritya yajnadana-tapah kriyaha pravartante vidhanoktaha satatam brahmavadinam.
Adityanabhisandhaya phalam yajnatapakriyaha danakriyascha vividhaha kriyante mokshakangshibihi. Phalam anabhisandhaya, with free of fruit motivation. There is no desire for fruit. Yajnata tapaha kriyaha, the acts of yajna and tapas. Dana kriyaha vividaha, and varieties of charitable acts. Kriyante mokshakangshibihi, are performed by the seekers of liberation. Tat iti, with the sentiment of his. Everything belongs to him. And therefore, I am doing this as a service of the Paramatma, without any desire for fruits thereof, but just to please the Paramatma, because it is everything belongs to him. Without seeking the fruits, the aspirants of liberation, moksha kangshibihi, the aspirants of liberation, perform various sacrifices, charities, and austerities with the sentiment of that are his. All this is all the resources belong to him, and the performance itself is Tat himself, that Tat. So they pronounce this name Tat without bringing into focus the fruits thereof. not focused on the fruits. They perform these actions. Tat is Brahma, as is Om. We said Om is one Nirdesha, one name of Brahma. Tat is the second name of Brahma. So to attain Tat, the seekers of liberation observe sacrifices and austerities without the motivation of seeking their fruits. If I am seeking the fruits thereof, I'm still in Prakriti. I am not in that. I'm in this. So to move away from this, the yajna, dana, and tapas are conducted, are performed with the thought of Tat, his. Tat is a descriptor of Paramatma. Knowing the name is equivalent to knowing the object described by the name is generally accepted. If I know somebody, if I say the name, that person comes into picture. If I say ice cream is known, ice cream as an object is known, ice cream as a sound is described by that ice cream, and therefore knowing the name is equivalent to knowing the object. Now, what does this do? This recognizes that all activities of human beings are induced by the Paramatma. He is the cause of me doing this, anything that I am doing, this class I am doing is because it is induced by him. The human being is only an agent in offering the karma to Paramatma, then ownership of the karma is removed. Once you do that, the ownership of the karma is removed. Very interesting. I'll tell you why I said that. See, I had finished doing Bhagavad Gita at the Hindu temple sometime in 2018, end of 2018. So in 2019, me and Madhavan, we went to one of the like board members of the Ayyappa temple, and our goal was to begin 2 classes, one to the children and the other to adolescents. About one, the children, the 3 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, and the adolescents age to teach Hindu Dharma. That was our objective. Now that board member said, we can do the children's class, no problem. I'm not sure about the Bhagavad Gita, the Dharma class, Sanatana Dharma class for the 14, 15, 16-year-olds. He was not sure that the parents, they are not under the control of parents. That is what I understood him. And first we should get the parents interested in this, in our Dharma. So why don't you do the Bhagavad Gita class for the adults? That is how so I had already done once. So I had no thought of doing this Bhagavad Gita class again, but he induced me through, he was the agent. He was the agent that made me do the Bhagavad Gita, start the Bhagavad Gita class again. So all these activities are induced by Paramatma alone. Iti anabhisandhaya.
Tat iti anabhisandhaya. Tat iti anabhisandhaya.
Phalam yajna tapah kriyaha.
Phalam yajna tapah kriyaha. Phalam yajna tapah kriyaha.
Dana kriyaha cha vividhaha.
Dana kriyashta vividhaha. Dana kriyashta vividhaha.
Kriyante moksha kankshibhihi.
Kriyante moksha kankshibhihi. Kriyante moksha kankshibhihi.
Tadityanabhisandhaya. Phalam yajna tapah kriyaha. Dana kriyascha vividhaha. Kriyante moksha kankshibhihi. There is a typo here. It is not a B dirgha. It is only a short B. So I'll fix it. Make note of that.
Tadityanabhisandhaya. Phalam yajna tapah kriyaha. Dana kriyashta vividhaha. Kriyante moksha kankshibhihi. Tadityanabhisandhaya. Phalam yajna tapah kriyaha. Dana क्रियाश्च विविधाः क्रियन्ते मोक्षकाङ्क्षिभिः
23, 24 and 25.
ॐ तत्सदिति निर्देशो ब्रह्मणस्त्रिविधः स्मृतः ब्राह्मणस्तेन वेदाश्च यज्ञाश्च विहिताः पुरा तस्माद् भूमित्युदाहृत्य यज्ञदानतपः क्रियाः प्रवर्तन्ते विधानोक्ताः सततं ब्रह्मवादिनां तदित्यनभिसन्धाय फलं यज्ञतपः क्रियाः दानक्रियाश्च विविधाः क्रियन्ते मोक्षकाङ्क्षिभिः.
Just to close on that thought of doing this class, the one I did at the Hindu temple, it was a very basic class. I didn't go much into commentaries and discussions. So this was the motivation for me to do a full commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, and I have immensely benefited by this. So the inducement by the Lord has helped me a lot. So let me put it that way. Okay. Sadbhave sadhubhave cha sadityetat prayujyate prashaste karmani tatha sachabda partha yujyate. So now he discussed Om, he discussed Tat, now he has come to discuss Sat. Sat is existence. So Sat iti, the Paramatma's name is existence. Like this. So that this is the Paramatma's name is existence, that thought, like this. Sat bhavecha, sadhu bhavecha prayujyate is invoked in the sentiments of truth and sentiments of supreme. So when we say Sat, that is the truth. Existence is when we say existence, it is existing in the past, present, and future. Every moment of our life, there's a past, moment, present, and future. So the Sat continuously exists in the past, present, and future. That is the definition of Sat, existence. And it is invoked in the sentiments of truth. So that Sat means that is the truth. What exists all the time, that is the truth. And that is the supreme. Tata prashaste karmani, and also in auspicious activities, Sat Shabdaha yujyate. The Sat is invoked. So the Paramatma is remembered in all auspicious activities by invoking the word Sat, by meaning that I am thinking of the Lord who is present in the past, present, and future. So Arjuna, the Sat is enunciated in Sadbhava. Sadbhava is reality. Sat is reality. So Sadbhava is reality. And Sadhubhava, goodness. So the sentiment of supreme or goodness, the Sat is enunciated in the auspicious activities. So the word Sat is pronounced in the context of Sadbhava, in the meaning of the non-existent became existent, like the sun that was not there is born. It's a little difficult to understand. To see an existence, one must exist. That's what it means. So if I have to see an object, that must exist. A non-existent body cannot see an existent. If I am not to see the existence of Paramatma, then I cannot see the Paramatma. Therefore, I have been created by the Paramatma to see him. That is the sentiment that we should have. That in the context, Sadbhava means in the meaning of the non-existent became existent, like the sun that was not there is born. So like me, I was not there at some point. If I was not there, I can never know the glory of God. To know the glory of God, I have been created. That's the meaning we can take. Sat is pervading everywhere, keeping in the background Brahma. Sat Bhava means existence of Brahma, and the Sat means Sat Bhava. Sat Bhava is in that word, Sat is embedded in Sat Bhava. So what is this existence? This existence is the source of the universe. The universe cannot come without his existence. And the universe was not there before, but he appeared himself as the universe. That is the context that we are trying to understand here. When he says the non-existent became existent, the non-existent universe became existent universe, like that, because he existed, and therefore something cannot come out of nothing. And therefore, if the universe has come into existence, that there must be something existent before the universe came into existence, and that is the Paramatma, that's the Sat. In the context of Sadhu Bhava, the word Sat is used in the context of Sadhu Bhava also, the person of negative conducts becoming the person of positive conducts. So he was not there, the good person was not there, but by practicing yajna, dana, and tapas, he has become a person of good conduct, sadhu bhava, positive attributes. Sadhu bhava is good swabhava or pure swabhava, is also described by Sat, like Sat Purusha or Sat Karma. We use the word Sat Purusha or Sat Karma, and in there is embedded the word Sat, that is the existence. Therefore, Paramatma is existent in Sadbhava and Sadhubhava. So, when we say existence of anything in the universe, Paramatma is existent in that. And if I do any good karma or any good activity, the Paramatma is there as Sat in that activity. And if there's a Sat Purusha, then Paramatma is there in that Sat Purusha also. Satbhave sadhu bhave cha.
Satbhave sadhu bhave cha. Satbhave sadhu bhave cha.
Sat iti etat prayujyate.
Sat iti etat prayujyate. Sat iti etat prayujyate.
Prashaste karmani tatha.
प्रशस्ते कर्मणि तथा प्रशस्ते कर्मणि तथा
Sat shabdaha partha yujyate.
सत् शब्दः पार्थ युज्यते सत् शब्दः पार्थ युज्यते
Sadbhave sadhu bhave cha. Sadityetat prayujyate. Prashaste karmani tatha. Satyabda partha yujyate.
सद्भावे साधुभावे च तदित्येतत् प्रयुज्यते प्रशस्ते कर्मणि तथा सच्छब्दः पार्थ युज्यते सद्भावे साधुभावे च तदित्येतत् प्रयुज्यते प्रशस्ते कर्मणि तथा सच्छब्दः पार्थ युज्यते
24, 25, and 26.
तस्मात् भूमित्युदाहृत्य यज्ञदानतपः क्रियाः प्रवर्तन्ते विधानोक्ताः सततं ब्रह्मवादिनाम् तदित्यनभिसन्धाय फलं यज्ञतपः क्रियाः दानक्रियाश्च विविधाः क्रियन्ते मोक्षकाङ्क्षिभिः सद्भावे साधुभावे च तदित्येतत् प्रयुज्यते प्रशस्ते कर्मणि तथा सच्छब्दः पार्थ युज्यते
Yajne tapasi dane cha. Sthitihi saditi chochate. Karma chaiva tadarthiyam. Sadityeva bhidhiyate. Yajne tapasi cha dane sthitihi. That which exists in sacrifices, austerities, and in charity. Satyeva iti uchyate is said to be existence alone. What is in sacrifice, what is in austerities, or what is in charity? That only Sat exists, the Paramatma exists. The karma tat arthitam, and the karma performed, arthitam, and the karma performed for Paramatma, cha satiti eva abhidhiyate, is decidedly said to be Sat. So, what exists in every karma is Paramatma, and what karma itself is Paramatma Sat. So that which is established in sacrifice, charity, and austerity is described as Sat. Actions for the sake of Lord are also called Sat. So the Sat as an existence is not only in the noun, it is also in the verb also. So the substratum in sacrifice, the substratum in charity, and the substratum in austerity is said to be Sat by the knowers. So the how do we understand this? The substratum in me and you is Paramatma. That is the sentiency in my body is the result of the Paramatma, and is the sentiency that is engaging in the action, and therefore the Paramatma is in the action. Now, the universe itself is a product of the Paramatma, and therefore all the materials that are used is nothing but the existence of the Paramatma in them. That is the sthiti. Sthiti is the Sanskrit word, its meaning is existence. Tat is existence. Therefore, the existence in yajna, dana, and tapas is called Sat. And the karma performed for that Sat also becomes Sat. So if I do a worship of the Lord, then the karma is also him alone, because he is the one who is making the action move forward because of the sentiency. He is there in the form of sentiency. So having known Paramatma of the form of Sat, then my karma becomes his karma, because whatever karma I am doing is because of him, and therefore it is his karma. And when we understand and accept that, the ego goes away. The ego exists only until Sat is known. Once I know that everything is Paramatma, then where is the need for me to say I am different from Paramatma? I am also Paramatma. I have to come to the firm understanding, and therefore practice all of them, all my activities in that spirit, and then I will become Paramatma. That is the underlying statement of this verse here. So in the previous verse, it was stated that the sound Sat is associated with auspicious karma. Here he describes the auspicious karma as yajna, tapas, and dana, and engaging in these karma is Sat karma. So everything is because of the existence of something, and the existence of something is the one that was there yesterday, today, and tomorrow, past, present, and future, and that is the substratum for everything, every object of this universe, every activity of this universe, and that is Sat. Once we recognize that the Sat continuously present in every object and activity, then we have understood Paramatma. So the yajna activities include collection of materials, preparation of the yajna stage, and the materials is yajna, preparation is an action, that is the yajna stage preparation is an action, therefore that is Sat. The activities of tapas include selection of an appropriate place, and then say doing the tapas, that is an activity, and therefore that is also Sat. Dana activities include the materials of dana and the act of giving. So all these activities are Sat karma existence. All karmas are begun with Om and concluded Om Tat Sat Krishnarpanamastu. So the Om Tat Sat Krishnarpanamastu is what we ultimately give back to the Paramatma, at least in talk. In spirit, we are not there yet, but in spirit also, if we get to that stage, then we have understood, we are staying in Paramatma. In recalling Brahma as Om Tat Sat, any deficiency in the Sat karmas are compensated. So it's kind of an atonement. If I miss something in my vidhi, my action, and I recall Brahma in that context at the end, Om Tat Sat. So that is because Om Tat Sat are the names of Brahma, and therefore I am recalling Brahma in Om Tat Sat, uttering Om Tat Sat in the end. That means all is offered to him. And there is no deficiency because everything is him, and I have accepted that as the medium for me to exist and do the activities in this universe. Yajñe tapasi dane cha
Yajñe tapasi dane cha. Yajñe tapasi dane cha.
sthiti sat iti cha uchyate.
Sthitihi sat iti cha uchyate. Sthitihi sat iti cha uchyate.
Karma chayeva tadarthiyam.
Karma cha yeva tadarthiyam. Karma cha yeva tadarthiyam.
Sat iti eva bhidhiyate.
Sat iti yeva bhidhiyate. Sat iti yeva bhidhiyate.
Yajñe tapasi dane cha sthitihi saditi chochyate. Karma chaiva tadarthiyam sadityeva bhidhiyate.
Yajñe tapasi dane cha. Iti sariti chocyate. Karma chaiva tadarthiyam. Sadityeva bhidhiyate. Yajñe tapasi dane cha. Iti sariti chocyate. Karma chaiva tadarthiyam. Sadityeva bhidhiyate.
25 to 27.
तदित्यनभिसन्धाय फलं यज्ञतपक्रियाः दानक्रियाश्च विविधाः क्रियन्ते मोक्षकाङ्क्षिभिः सद्भावे साधुभावे च तदेत्येतत् प्रयुज्यते प्रशस्ते कर्मणि तथा सच्छब्दः पार्थयुज्यते यज्ञे तपसि दाने च इति सदिति चोच्यते कर्म चैव तदर्थीयम् तदित्येवाभिधीयते.
We are coming to the last verse of this chapter. See, this chapter began with Arjuna asking the question, why, what is, Śhraddhā? The people who don't know Shastra, they do engage in karmas. How do you classify that Śhraddhā, he had asked. So Krishna is now coming back to that particular question of Arjuna. He says, Śhraddhaya hutam dattam papastaptam kritancha yat asadityuchyate partha nachatat pretya no iha. Śhraddhaya hutam dattam, the offering and charity without conviction. Conviction of what? Conviction of the Bhagavan that we have looked at so far now. In the last 3-4 verses, Om Tat Sat. So that is the Nirdesha of the Bhagavan. And therefore, if the offering and charity without that conviction, Chayat Taptam Tapaha Kritam, and that austerity and auspicious karma undertaken without the conviction, Asat iti uchyate is said to be Asat, non-existence. Achatat pretya no iha, has no value either here or after death. Therefore, that is the Śhraddhā. The Śhraddhā becomes Aśhraddhā, that is Asat. That Aśhraddhā itself is Asat, he says. So the sacrifice, charity, and austerity performed lacking conviction is called Asat. It neither benefits here nor afterlife. So any activity that is performed without the conviction of Om Tat Sat, there it has no value. It does not add anything to our existence, to our activity. we have wasted our activities. We have not done anything that is helpful in advancing ourselves in the spiritual path. So, the offerings in the 5 rituals lacking conviction, the charities made to the Brahmanas without conviction, and the austerities performed without conviction. Conviction of what? Conviction of Om Tat Sat, as well as the worships, prostrations without conviction. All of them are to be said to be asat. They are non-existent. Even though if I did the karma, they are non-existent. For spiritual progress, they are non-existent. So generally, this asat is non-existence. And if sat is auspicious, then asat is inauspicious. Any auspicious activity of yajna, tapas, and dana without the conviction or improperly undertaken, therefore becomes inauspicious. The words here, sat is auspicious, therefore asat is inauspicious, is being invoked here. So the activities that are lacking conviction in Om Tat Sat, they are as if it is not existing at all, not as if not done. So Sat and Śhraddhā have a mutual relationship. Śhraddhā in what? Earlier we said Śhraddhā in duty, but duty is prescribed by the Paramatma, and therefore the Śhraddhā is in the Paramatma. So Śhraddhā is duty necessarily accepts Sat. If I have accept it as a duty, and then I should accept it as a duty because it is the utterings of or the sayings of the Paramatma. Om Tat Sat is the way we describe that Paramatma. So therefore, all activities that I undertake have to have that conviction, and then it becomes auspicious. If I don't have that conviction, then that karma itself is non-existent for spiritual progress, and therefore it is inauspicious. So why so? Because practices without conviction are not the practices to attain me. He's saying, no, okay, you do some activities, then what is your aim in doing the activity? If you have to come to me, if you want to attain me, you should have the conviction. If you don't have the conviction in me, if you have the conviction in the physical entities, our 5 sense organs, they sense the 5 sense objects. Now, if I have conviction in my sense organs and therefore the sense objects, I am excluding him from my conviction, and therefore that is not helpful. I'm still in the Prakriti. I'm not making any effort to attain the Purusha, the Paramatma, and therefore it is non-existent. Śhraddhā should not be blind. And again, the commentators add this here, that the Śhraddhā should not be blind. I should take this conviction as a hypothesis and do all activities. And then as I go along, I will see the conviction, the truth in the conviction. The truth in the conviction reveals itself once I accept it as a hypothesis, devote myself completely to that conviction, then the Śhraddhā becomes Sattvika Śhraddhā in the association with Paramatma. So that is what Krishna is. He had earlier said 3 kinds of Śhraddhas, Sattvika, Rajasika, and Tamasika. Now he is saying only Sattvika Śhraddhā counts. The Rajasika and the Tamasika Śhraddhā does not count for any of your spiritual growth. So even expending lots of energy and resources, they neither advance towards higher lands after death, nor do they offer happiness here in this life. He says, Nacha tat pretya no iha. Pretya means after death. Na iha, not here. So he has no benefit out of the activities by without that Śhraddhā, without that Sattvika Śhraddhā. So if you have that Sattvika Śhraddhā, you will make spiritual progress. If you don't have that Sattvika Śhraddhā, you will go back and forth in the transmigration. Such an activity or karma has no benefit either here or after death. That means that is just you are making your way for your next life. That's in some form or the other, not in the desired way. Śhraddhaya hutam dattam.
Śhraddhaya hutam dattam. अश्रद्धया हुतं दत्तं
tapah taptam kritam च यत्
तपः तप्तं कृतं च यत् तपः तप्तं कृतं च यत्
असत् इति उच्यते पार्थ
असत् इति उच्यते पार्थ असत् इति उच्यते पार्थ
न च तत्प्रेत्य नो इह
न च तत्प्रेत्य नो इह न च तत्प्रेत्य नो इह
अश्रद्धया हुतं दत्तं तपस्तप्तं कृतं च यत् असदित्युच्यते पार्थ न च तत्प्रेत्य नो इह
अश्रद्धया हुतं दत्तं तपस्तप्तं कृतं च यत् असदित्युच्यते पार्थ न च तत्प्रेत्य नो इह अश्रद्धया हुतं दत्तं तपस्तप्तं कृतं च यत् असदित्युच्यते पार्थ न च तत्प्रेत्य नो इह
26 to 28
तद्भावे साधुभावे च तदित्येतत् प्रयुज्यते प्रशस्ते कर्मणि तथा तच्छब्दः पार्थयुज्यते यज्ञे तपसि दाने च इति सदिति चोच्यते कर्म चैव तदर्थीयम् तदित्येवाभिधीयते अश्रद्धया हुतं दत्तं तपस्तप्तं कृतं च यत् असदित्युच्यते पार्थ न च तत्प्रेत्य नो इह
ॐ तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे श्रद्धात्रयविभागयोगो नाम सप्तदशोऽध्यायः. So the underlying message of this chapter is, in order to attain to Paramatma, you should practice Sattvika Śhraddhā. Sattvika Śhraddhā is to have full conviction in that Brahma, and that conviction in Brahma is facilitated through the Om Tat Sat names of Brahma in all activities of our life, like Yajna, Dana, and Tapas. So that is how he is ending this chapter, almost addressing the very first question that the question that Arjuna asked in the very first verse. Okay. So now this is what I want to spend a few minutes on this. I may not be able to do in 4 or 5 minutes. I may take a few more minutes more than the 12:30 deadline. So what this Om is accepted as that the source of all objects in the universe is Parabrahma. That is the underlying. We have seen the Karana exists in the Karya. The cause exists in the effect. The cause is Paramatma. Universe is the effect. Therefore, Paramatma exists in the universe. It is only intuitive to understand that Parabrahma is Pranava or Pranava is Parabrahma. Om. Why? We will see that. So, Om is called Pranava, and therefore Pranava is Parabrahma, Parabrahma is Pranava. Pranava is the name, Vachaka or the descriptor, and what that name is identifying is Jagat, Vacha, the descripted. Now, Pranava, the fundamental sound, that is the Shabda Brahma, is appearing as the universe. That is the Om. So that is what is described as the sound Brahma. The universe appearing as we experience is due to the ignorance. We are looking universe as universe because we are not seeing as Parabrahma because of our ignorance. So the 3 syllables of Omkara are invoked in meditation. knowing that the outside universe is Omkara and bringing the outside universe in his mind, how should the seeker who is seated in the meditation, how should he reconcile who is he, who he is? So the seeker has to know who he is through the Omkara. Now, that is the sound Om, sound that can be generated through the vocal cord Om, has a range of sounds ranging from A to Ma through the sound U. Om, A, A, U, Ma. And so that is the A is open the mouth. When you say the A, you open the mouth. And Ma, you close the lips. You close, and then in between the opening and the closing, the sound U, which is running all the way from deep down the vocal cord up to the lips. So this range is nothing but pranava. That is according to what our Upanishads have described. Om is the fundamental sound which includes every other sound which can be produced by the vocal cord. So if I say Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavad Gita is Om is contained. Bhagavad Gita is contained in the Om. Whatever Om, that A, U, Ma, Bhagavad Gita is contained in that. In other words, Om is the source of all sounds. So how this universe of matter is represented by the sound Om. We can say at the speech level that Auma is the vocal cord bringing out the sound. Then how does it refer to the universe as Om? The particular universe is matter. Sound, Om is sound. How do we connect this? So for this, we use the, like a mathematical, what we have studied in high school and college. We can apply that and come to make a connection between these two, the universe and the sound Om. Now, in mathematics, as some of you, we may not have had exposure to mathematics, so I will beg your pardon, but you can understand something for sure. So in mathematics, y is equal to fx is a standard way of describing the relationship between two entities. Y is one entity, f is one, x is another entity. Like if you say that there's a, take the Bhagavad Gita itself. The Bhagavad Gita, it extends over let us say 1 second, and in that 1 second there is variation of sound. In the 1 second, if you plot as the x coordinate, and then the sound, Bhagavad Gita, the amplitude of the sound, that is y coordinate. Therefore, the amplitude of the sound is dependent on the time at 1 minute, 1 second of uttering Bhagavad Gita. That is the, so y, that is the variable entity, that is the sound, and x the variable entity, the dependent, sorry, y is the variable entity and x is the independent entity. So time is an independent entity. Over that 1 second of time, the Bhagavad Gita saying, uttering Bhagavad Gita has a certain amplitude of sound, and that is represented by the y coordinate. So that is what here you have the sound coming in a certain way, and the independent coordinate x over time, that amplitude. This is a straight line. It's easy to say a relationship between this. Now, if it is something like this is what we call a square wave. The square wave is it is 0 here, but also at the same x location, there is an amplitude of 1. That amplitude of 1 continues until certain time, and then it drops to 0 and -1. And then that amplitude again remains -1, and then it becomes 0. This is the description of the sound function in this case. How do you refer this to Om? That's the understanding. That's the question that we are trying to understand. Now, something like this. You see, in the previous case, you had a straight line. It was easy to understand. Now, if y is equal to fx, it is not a uniform increase or a uniform decrease. It is going up and down for some period of time. When you say Bhagavad Gita, there is a lower amplitude. going down. Then suddenly there is a higher amplitude, and like this, how do you describe this? Now there is a technique in the tool in mathematics called Fourier series. So anything like this can be described by a combination of several sine functions and cosine functions. Now I will describe what the sine function and cosine function is just briefly. Then we'll come back to this. Now this is a sine function. And those who are already knowing this, please excuse me for indulging into elementary things. Now, in this case, at the time 0, the 0, they are all they are put in degrees. It's the independent coordinate is time in degrees. So they starts with 0, goes up to a maximum at 90 degrees, halfway through, and then it comes back to 0 again at 180, and then it becomes -1 at 270 and becomes 0 again at 360. This is what is called sine function. The cosine function is opposite of this. It starts at 0 and goes to -1 if you want, or you can even move this to above this line. Let me. It's basically opposite of this cosine. Here it is 0. That is where it is 0 for sine, it becomes 1 here. And then if I put this exactly on it, let me see. No, I can't do it here. So understand that this is 0 here for the sine. This is 1 at the cosine. When the sine becomes the maximum, the cosine becomes 0, and then it reverses like that. Anyway, now if you this is the sine function, this is the cosine function. That way, when it is 0 here, it is cosine is maximum. That is better to understand here. So this at this time, the sine function says the value is 0. The cosine function says the value is maximum. When the sine function is maximum, the cosine function is 0. So you can add. There is a time phase difference between them, and therefore, see, at this instant the value is maximum. At this instant also the value is maximum. If you add the two of them, if you had only this one, this cosine function, it is maximum, it is minimum, 0, and it is minimum. Now, if you add a sine function to that 30 seconds later or the 90 degrees later, then it is when this is 0, this is maximum. So you have maximum at 0, and you have maximum at pi/2. So at different intervals, you have maximums. Now, if you have in between another 10 curves like this, you will see that this top is maintained almost continuously. That is shown in the next verse here. So like this, this is one term. If you take two terms of add them together, and if you take three terms, you add them together. Therefore, any curve described mathematically can be described by a summation of sines and cosines functions. That is the basic construct of the Fourier series. Now, so the Fourier series y is equal to a function fx is a constant amplitude plus summation of cos and sine function and cosine function. So now Bhagavad Gita descriptor of any object like this, Vachaka, can be described by sound waves of this sine and cosine function. Therefore, this is described by this function. Just like in the previous one, you saw that the square function is described by a summation of several sine functions and cosine functions. Here, any name or any Vachaka descriptor can be described by this Fourier series of sines and cosines. Now you stated Jagat, description of the universe. Each object of the universe can be described by a function like this. If I say Bhagavad Gita, one. If I say Vishnu Sahasranama, there is another function, and all of them, each one can be expressed by a function like this, and you add them all together. That's the universe. That's the concept. And that add them all together concept, if you are able to, let us say, express Om by a function like this, that would contain all sounds of the universe. Now, the sound has no meaning without an object. You have a sound, there's an object Bhagavad Gita, and therefore you call it as Bhagavad Gita. There is an object Vishnu Sahasranama, you call it as by a certain sound form, and you call computer, there is a way of describing that in Vachaka, that is in speech, and then there is a television, you can describe that. Every object of the universe can be described by a function like this, and every function like this can be expressed by a series of sines and cosines, and that as Om also can be expressed as a combination of these various objects. Om can be defined, and therefore the described is not different from the descriptor. Everything that can be described is through a descriptor, and therefore the universe, objects of the universe, are described by a function. And Om, if it is an inquiry of Om, Om is equal to descriptor Vachaka of all objects of the universe. Bhagavad Gita, Vishnu Sahasranama, television, TV, a cell phone, mobile, everything is a combination of a summation of all those objects, and each one of them is described by this function, and therefore Om is the summation of the names of all the objects of this universe, and that is the mathematical way of understanding Omkara. So this is okay. That's the thing. This is what I wanted to convey, that it is, our sages have seen Om as the universe. There is a way to explain that through our mathematical models. This is a simple mathematical model, and it needs a lot of, probably there's no computer in the universe today to process this particular equation. This is only I'm saying it as a theoretical possibility. There is no computing power that exists today to compute this whole Om as the summation of all the infinite number of objects in the universe by this method. But we can definitely appreciate how our sages have come to this conclusion, this decision. All right, with that, I will close this description. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayaः Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhaveet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Krishna Arpanamastu. Any questions? Anybody on this chapter? Okay.
Well, question, Ramakrishnaji.
Go ahead.
See, Arjuna had a doubt to fight his relatives and friends. And at the end of the discussions, he decides to fight the war. That means that these discussions should have been considered as a motivational discussions.
Yes, to have more than motivation, to remove the ignorance he had. See, the Arjuna looked at Bhishma and Drona as different from him. Through the second chapter, there itself in the first 15 verses, he describes, hey, you are not different from Bhishma and Arjuna. You are seeing them as different. That's all because of ignorance.
I understand that. The second chapter kind of emphasizes the point that you are not different. But going forward, it is kind of explanation to me is like a Moksha Shastra. instead of just being Moksha Shastra, this should have been considered. There may be some implicit meaning and implicit points to explain this as a motivational speech or discussion for the generations to come, instead of telling it as a Moksha Shastra. What do you think?
Okay, the motivation comes only after knowing. I can take your suggestion. You are trying to say it's a motivation at a very gross level. In the final level, you have to know that see what he's trying to say is, first he described, you and I are not different.
Okay.
Okay, that understanding, then he has drilled on it, that in every aspect of our living, he has shown that you and I are not different. And yes, ultimately, he has to motivate him to get to action, not so much as to moksha. It is to get him, to motivate him to action. You are not killing Bhishma and Drona, but you are, it's only the Atma being indestructible. You can never kill the Atma. What you see through your sense organs is not real. See, this is the fundamental thing we have to understand is science believes that what is perceived through the sense organs is real. Science is based on the perception through the sense organs as the means of knowledge to establish the identity of the object. Now, Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita are saying you discount what you perceive in the sense organs, through the sense organs. What you perceive through the sense organs is nothing but the Paramatma as an appearance. The appearance goes, but the Paramatma stays.
Yeah, I understand the body-mind complex should be taken out of his understanding. If he becomes totally enlightened person, he may act differently, but
yes,
that not be a part of the discussions or the explanations.
If I may just add just one more point there. Further, it's very, very important to understand that Krishna is trying to tell Arjuna, look, they are all adharmis, meaning they are on the side of adharma. We have to establish dharma. Does not matter who the relative is, whether it's Ajja, or whether it's a grandfather or grandmother, whoever that is. For that adharma should be destroyed and dharma should be put up. So you should establish the dharma. That's what he's trying to drill to Arjuna and make sure that he understands that he is on the dharma side and not on the adharmas.
That is true. Definitely there is an aspect of that, but the dharma is contained in the Atma. The dharma is only a manifestation. What Krishna is trying to teach is the Atma, and you can see the Atma through dharma only. You cannot. That is what this whole says. Śhraddhā is not seeing the presence of the Paramatma in everything, and if you go in that way, that is also the Śhraddhā adds to adharma. Śhraddhā is not different from adharma. Adharma is not different from Śhraddhā when you take the conviction in the Paramatma as the only real thing. So the dharma from his perspective, from Krishna's perspective, establishing the dharma is the goal for him, absolutely. But it is not the means for him to teach Arjuna to live in dharma. For him to live in dharma, he has to accept the supremacy of the Atma. And that alone is going to be helping him to make a decision, to fight or not to fight. Nainam chindan shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, na chainam kledayantyapa, na shosheti maruta. He says, the weapons cannot kill, the water will not wet, the air will not dry. This Atma is immune from all elements of nature. When the Atma is immune from all elements of nature, you are dharma is coming only in the context of the elements of nature. Dharma is a step, but that is not the end. For Arjuna to fight the war, he should know the higher cause. That is the absoluteness of the Paramatma.
Okay, thank you.
I hope your question is answered, but that you have to really focus on it and think about it quite a bit before we come to that full conviction. It's easy to talk here, but if I walk out of this class, I also am all my samskaras, all my gunas come into act, and I act differently. Right? That's what is happening to us.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right. We'll see you in the next class. Next class, what we'll do is we will do the 15, 16, and 17 chapters. I will send out a schedule for that. And we'll start with the 18th chapter, Moksha Sannyasa Yoga. Let me just read the first verse of that, and then we'll conclude. Oh, Sanya Arjuna Uvacha Sanyasasya Mahabaho Tatvamichami Veditum Yagasya cha Hrishikesha Pratakkeshi Nishodhana. Om Krishna Arpanamastu. We'll see you in the next class.
Namaskara.
Namaste.
Namaskara to everybody.
Thank you.
Namaskaram.
Namaskara.
Namaskara.